All right, 9 o'clock it is. Good morning. Let's see how many we got here.
Morning.
Welcome. Happy June 19th. I saw this today and I did not substantiate it, but it's been 100 days since the World Health Organization declared COVID a pandemic. So what a week, huh? I mean, another craziness. Close to 1,000 people yesterday. It's truly scary. So I'll say this again, wash your hands, wear your mask, do a better job. I, for one, have got to remind myself frequently that that's the way we got to do it. But let's talk about June 19th for a second. And I had a couple folks say, are y'all working on June 19th? Well, we are. Well, the chamber's not. We closed on Fridays. But other companies, but not for June 19th reasons. That's just because of financial issues. But the issue around June 19th is important. And many times you don't need a state holiday or federal holiday to learn history and to appreciate the history of June 19th, which I, quite frankly, I'd heard of June 19th. But until maybe 3 months ago, I didn't really go into it. But it is pretty cool for those that have not read about June 19th, or Juneteenth is a shortened version of June 19th, was June 19th, 1865, Galveston, Texas, was the first time they had heard or were enforced to end slavery. It had been 2.5 years since Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, went into effect June 1st, 1863. And then 2.5 years later, a ship rolls into Galveston, Texas, and Texas was the last state to free slaves. So important date in history, and one that we need to read more about. For one, that was more on me. But anyway, we are working. And what I thought I'd do today is throw a few things out for conversation. We've had some great conversations of late over a bunch of different things. And so a couple things, I'll hit a couple things. I took notes on my phone, so I am reading my phone, but I'm not on the phone or texting. I'm actually reading my notes for today. We're going to be sending a survey out the first of next week to talk about our partners and what they're comfortable with doing over the next couple months. The state chamber announced this week they're not going to do any events for the remainder of the year. As I mentioned on this coffee time before, that a lot of chambers around the country are not doing that. By the way, Eastminster Church has their chimes going right now, so it's not my background music. That's Eastminster, if anybody hears. A little distraction on my end, sorry. But we are going to send a survey out. I really would like to get your thoughts on what you're comfortable with. Obviously, nobody's comfortable with 1,000 new cases yesterday. But as we go forward, we really do have to be deliberate in what we do and how we present it to y'all. I mean, we are a membership organization, so it's important to get y'all's feedback. So we're going to send that out again on first of next week. Two, we're going to have an upcoming, I see Dr. Witherspoon has joined us, and we appreciate that this morning, but we've asked him and Dr. Little from Lexington County, as well as Dr. Baron Davis from Richland too, talk about the importance of opening schools safely, and that's a big deal. And so this is one where other parts of the state are having conversations with the business community and the school districts, and we wanted to do that as well, because the economy is really not going to get up and running until school start, because of daycare and childcare and all of the pressures that go with that. And so that's a lot of pressure on Dr. Witherspoon, and talk about that, but also what they're dealing with to keep kids safe. But we also got an open economy, so it's a balance act. And so we're going to have that conversation on June 7th. So thank you, Dr. Witherspoon, for agreeing to do that. We normally don't do meetings in July, just as a reminder, but since we're all stuck on Zooms and at home and not as many vacations, we thought we would push on through. But it is a great time, and so we welcome that conversation on June 7th. The other thing I want to talk about, we got some big news this week. I mean, let's see. I want to give a big shout out to Tim Scott, Senator Scott, submitted a bill Wednesday night that would put chambers of commerce and direct marketing organizations like Experience Columbia SC into the payroll protection plan. And we've been really, we've needed that relief. And my slant is this, and somebody may differ with me, but if the whole point of the payroll protection plan was to keep employees on the payroll, it shouldn't matter your distinction of a tax situation. 501c3s were allowed to qualify, and 501c6s were not. So anyway, we're anxious to see that, but really appreciate Tim and his leadership there, which was lost because he had such a powerful talk on the well of the Senate floor. I'm not sure if you all were able to see that or not, but if you haven't, it's powerful, and I highly encourage you to check that out on C-SPAN or YouTube or web news this week. But Tim's a great senator for us in South Carolina. Other big news this week, the city of Columbia has having a discussion on whether or not to require people to wear masks out in public. And if you read it, it also says in private. Not sure how enforceable that is, but I don't think that really matters in the eyes of what they're trying to do. They really are trying to encourage people to wear their masks, but it is a legit question. So I know the chamber, and I know the city and Lexington County Chamber has been pushing to every business sign a pledge that they require their employees to wear a mask, and that you enforce that. I'd love to get y'all, if anybody has thoughts on that, I welcome opening that up to anybody here. If the city says you got to wear a mask, you can wear a mask, even in private. Don't all speak at once. This is no problem. But if y'all have an idea, we'd love.
Hey, Carl, it's Rich. We did a on-air survey of viewers 2 days ago asking if they thought there should be mandatory masks in Columbia. 82% said yes.
Wow. Wow.
Now, it's obviously it's not a scientific sample, right, but that was 82%.
That's impressive. Well, you know, it has shown in other places. China's seen a huge relapse. All over the country, we're seeing a relapse. And it's not a second wave because the first wave never went anywhere. It's still here. But that's impressive. Anybody else got thoughts?
Hey, Carl, this is Leanna Lee with Graduate Columbia.
I saw your fancy mask you got.
Yeah, we do. So we just opened Wednesday, and it's been interesting. We've been closed since March, so we've had all the time to deep clean and everything. And we've signed the Chamber's pledge to open responsibly and have our poster up on the front door and everything. But I recently just went back home to my hometown, which is Gainesville, Florida, and it is required there. If you're in public, you have to wear a mask, and if you are not, they can fine you up to $500.
Wow.
So
that's cash there. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I know Raleigh just did this for Raleigh in Wake County. I'll tell you where I am. I don't actually have a problem wearing a mask. I don't love it. Nobody does, right? I mean, but I recognize the health implications. One of the issues that I have is because Columbia is so bifurcated in a lot of ways. You've got Forest Acres, you got City of Columbia, you got Richland County, you got Lexington County, West Columbia, Casey, all within a short distance. One municipality doing it, you know, you're not maximizing the effect there when you don't have a county pass. But the city's a start. I get that, and I'm not saying it's not improvement, but I wish we had more standardization. Let me just say that.
Hey, Carl, this is Frank Mundy with Stewart Engineering.
Hey, Frank.
And our firm is based in Raleigh and have offices in Raleigh and Durham, which Durham has required masks since really day one. And Raleigh, just as you mentioned, just went to it last week. And I think that really what they're trying, and they have the same issue. There's, several municipalities that are adjacent to Raleigh, as well as the Wake County hasn't passed it yet. So they're having the same issues you just mentioned. But I think, really they're just trying to start the conversation. I don't know that the masked police is out and about quite yet, but I think they're just trying to change people's perception of you need to do this. And, if they can move the needle, maybe not trying to move the needle to 100%, but just move the needle at all is of paramount importance. And obviously, we also, as corporate, we have not reopened here in Columbia because we haven't reopened across the Carolinas yet. We're all still hunkered down, but we are planning that next phase in the second week of July, inclusive of Columbia. But we will all be wearing masks when we cannot socially distance accordingly.
Right. That's good information. Thanks, Frank. Thanks for being on.
Carl, this is Beth. Although it says Stacy McLaughlin on my name, we're both on the call. We're just right downtown here, and Stacy and I have been working very socially distanced from our office. When I go out on the streets in downtown Columbia, I have all I can do to dodge out of the way of people without masks, and there are very few people wearing masks. And right across the street is a restaurant that closed because the wait staff had COVID, and Kitty Corner is another one. So often I'm dodging people walking 5 abreast, a foot apart from each other, no masks. So frankly, I think, I think it would be good to have an ordinance and just bring awareness to this. And if not for your own safety, if you don't care about the safety of other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good points there. Yeah, walking down yesterday, it was not many people wearing masks at all.
Carl, hey, this is Craig. We have for several weeks, maybe even longer, we required in our buildings, we've used some of the CDC guidance in terms of back to work and so forth. Some of us never stopped, but we do have a procedure that, if you're in your office, you're okay. But when you come out of your office, any hallway, break room, all of that, you have to have a mask on. And then when we were collecting materials and so forth, closing out school the last couple of weeks, that last week in May, first week in June, we had folks wearing masks, and we're working on some not policy, but some procedures as schools. We're doing some registration, all that, but some procedures, both internal and external, when people come in. And we hadn't finalized anything yet, but are we gonna, like some stores, be required to have them on or requested? But we're working on that now. But certainly all of our offices, we do have some procedures where individual staff have to wear masks.
Good. Okay. Thank you. I'm not shy about calling people out, but I'm in shock. I'm not in shock because he's here, but I'm praying that he's on East Coast time and not West Coast time. But Ben Arnold, thank you for joining. Man, West Coast time, early morning for you, my man. Thank you.
I know. I happened to be up. I had it on my calendar, and I woke up at 5:30. I guess it was meant to be, but I wanted to hear what was going on in Columbia. Haven't been there in, 3 months. I missed it.
Well, we're glad to see you. So thanks for joining. For those, Ben's been a staple and a developer here in town, and living right now in Southern California. So, which by the way is 6:30 there, or 6:15, whatever it is. So thanks for being on. What else?
By the way, let me say one thing. I do communicate every day with my people in Columbia, and also we're about to break ground on the Lost Palms on Lady, which it's taken forever, but you're going to see some dirt moving. Hopefully
Great.
Week, if not the week after, but it's finally coming to fruition.
Well, it's looking good. It opened up so much when that building got knocked down, and we're excited to see it.
Great. Thanks.
Anybody else got thoughts about masks or a differing view on masks? I don't think anybody can argue with the data. and we talked about this before, but I know a lot of folks have, a lot of young kids are asymptomatic, but have been exposed or positive testing for COVID. So we do need to be careful. But anybody else have one?
No, I was going to say, I think that's some of the problem that we're seeing. Not just with masks, but with country in general. Folks wanted to just debate the science behind it, right? You may have medical doctors and Dr. Fauci out there saying, this is really necessary, and people, just want to debate that.
Yeah, it's well, and we've been talking about this for 3 months. Of there's not a normal to go back to, right? We are living the new normal today, and it's embracing what the change of culture and the change of society is right now, and embrace is better than fighting it in some ways, because we're not going back, unfortunately. As much as we would like the freedom of not getting sick, it is here.
Carl, this is Jim Morris. It would be kind of cool, you see some various masks coming out, the handmade ones, pretty cool stuff. As our small businesses come out, it would be pretty cool if somebody comes up with the mask cover that goes over the surgical mask or whatever, that has a "for the team" or "Go Columbia" or some little, thing on the side, so that, people could see, look, I'm wearing this mask, I'm part of the team, it's important, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes people wear stuff, for different reasons. But anyway, just throw that out there.
No, I think that's great. And I've been wearing mine that General Beagle sent me that was handmade out of Jackson. Leanna Lee, I mentioned her mask. She represents the graduate, and they have the graduate masks. They are fun to watch, right? To see the creativity that's out there. So a tagline for Columbia would be, I agree with that. All right, let's hit some other big news, or just random news. We have another election on Tuesday, runoffs for primarily the county council seats. I think there are 3 that are up, that have been contested or actually in a runoff. Want to thank the South Carolina Election Commission for stepping up and help training some folks that have actually volunteered to work the polls. That was a big problem we had a week and a half ago, was not enough poll workers. And so thanks to those folks that have offered up their services that day. But also thanks for the state of South Carolina's election, again, for stepping up and helping train. That's the most important thing. When you got new folks that want to help, and they just need the proper education and making sure that the elections go smoothly. So that'll be fun. There's a lot of noise elections right now. I'll just leave that out there, and y'all can read about yourself. But new level of mudslinging across South Carolina, which at least is never boring, right? South Carolina never has boring elections. That's the silver lining there. Maybe that's a stretch, but anyway, next week we could talk about those elections. So I will say that Richland County elections are so important, and anyway, so those that can vote, please do that. Any other news we need to talk about? Anybody got something, a nugget for us?
They announced yesterday that they are going to be doing in-person commencement at USC. We just opened our inventory up, so we have rooms if anybody, I know the city sells out quickly usually for that, but we do have rooms, hotel rooms, if anyone needs them.
Great. Directly across.
Speaking of USC, I was talking to Ed Walton, but I think they're projecting 6 or 7% less students for the upcoming fall. And that's mainly out of state and out of country people. But that's better than what they thought it was going to be, 10%.
Yeah, I think the university's done a phenomenal job. They were the leaders across the country, and we've mentioned this, that they were the first ones out of the block to say, let's go back. But provisions on there. So I think a lot of schools are modeling after what USC has done. And again, General Caslin's done a great job in setting the stage there. I think students come back shortly. They're going to have summer school and a couple thousand students, because in his mind, we hosted him here. He said, look, we need to make sure we get this right. We need to practice social distancing on campus and make sure we know what we're doing before the fall. So good leadership there. And I'm excited that they're coming back. Across the country, university towns have taken a bigger hit than other cities. One, because the college kids, you're used to having a slowdown in the summer when college kids go home, and but you plan for that. You don't plan for a 3-month or 6-month summer outing. So college, there was a big piece, I can't remember, Wall Street Journal or Bloomberg this week on the impact of college cities around, and Chapel Hill and others are, again, Columbia is no different. We've been fortunate. We do have a lot of state government and our layoffs are not anywhere close to what Charleston and Greenville. We've been very much lower than those two cities in unemployment numbers. I will briefly mention I had a good conversation with General Beagle this week, and they're back up to 95% of the training load right now. They did see a drop as they were getting used to this new process that they're in, but they're back up to 95%. They've been using chartered buses mainly, and also some charter aviation to get folks that have graduated to their next locations. That's going to cease here in the next week or so and go back to commercial, which will help CAE quite a bit. But that's been good. One interesting stat, and this is one that we'll have to see how the trend goes, but their graduations are back up to about 95%. But of the graduation, their graduation rate normally is about 1 out of every 10 drops out or doesn't make graduation. So 90% graduation rate. During COVID, they're up to 97%, which is pretty remarkable, quite frankly, that anybody right now has got a 97% graduation rate. So obviously the U.S. Army is doing something right. And I guess those that want to be Army are really dedicated to it. So that's pretty phenomenal. But good news out of Jackson that they're still not going to start graduations yet. They're still going to stick with the virtual graduations for now. But the good news is they'll start utilizing CAE a little bit more. So, all right. Any other tidbits that I can help
Hey,
with?
Carl, I'll throw something out there.
Yes, sir.
Not so much COVID related specifically, but I'm over at the South Carolina Department of Transportation now, stuck at retirement and working at DOT. And just announced yesterday an additional $562 million worth of road paving projects for fiscal year 2021. That's in addition to the $3 billion of road projects that we have out there right now. So fortunately, we've been in a position where we have not had to put on pause any road projects. As you can imagine, a downturn in traffic means a reduction in collection of state gas tax. However, we've done some austerity measures for our internal operations and have been able to move forward, not seeing any road projects impacted at all so far. So good news that infrastructure work continues to move on. So just as info.
If y'all need any help identifying maybe roads in the city of Columbia or Richland County that need paving, let me know. I may have a few ideas.
Okay.
Now that you,
absolutely.
Yeah, hey, you even got the President of the United States tweeting SCDOT today, so you don't need my advice. Anyway, if y'all missed that, the feds passed. They're doing interchange at exit 81 on 77 for the Panthers. And some reason the president started tweeting out DOT projects yesterday.
Right.
In Florida, I might add, as well as South Carolina.
And Rhode Island and other states as well. And so he was tweeting out about the Panthers interchange at up in Rock Hill, which will not financially impact SCDOT's ability to do all the other road work because of the federal grant and because of Department of Commerce input financially. So we're good there.
Good. I'm not suggesting that the president's politicized DOT projects, and it's never been done again, ever in the history of South Carolina. So I'm not touching that. I'm just, never mind.
I'm not either.
Yeah. Any other thoughts today?
One little tidbit about the convention center, which I guess you consider is positive news. They rebooked 70% of the lost business in 2020 for 2021. So good. I think that's pretty good. I don't know how that stacks up with other convention centers, but it's a good start.
We need it. And I'll tell you what, in a few weeks, let's talk, and maybe you can brief this group on the project and see how it goes.
Well, I wish I had more to say about it. It's kind of on pause right now. But, you know, with USC coming back, and really it's what happens in the fall, September, October, corporate business. I have been tracking the hotel market, and it's improving. South Carolina is faring way better. I think it's #1 in the country for hotel occupancy, but it's primarily Hilton Head and Myrtle Beach. But Columbia is above the average. I think it's 44% occupancy, and the national average is like 38.7. So we're coming back faster. We're a drive-to market. All this affects what happens with the convention center and potential for expanding, but hotel taxes and tourism development fees are down. So who knows? Then you get to the politics, and like you were saying, Richland County Council, you know, there's so many factors in this. I wish I knew where it was going.
Yeah. All right. Well, keep us posted on that. I will say I was on a TV show last Friday, actually, with the head of the Charlotte airport, and learned a lot about what Charlotte was doing. Charlotte's back up to 80% right now of their capacity. However, they think it's going forward as business travel is changing. But the majority of Charlotte airport traffic has historically been business travel, but right now that's flipped, and the majority of travel is personal. And so, which is interesting. And it does change a little bit of the way they have to operate. But flights a lot less flights flying in the skies today. So, but airlines flights are pretty booked. They are using social distancing, so that not every seat is taken, but they're 80% capacity at Charlotte. So that means there's uptick, no doubt about it. But the airline is looking, depending on this fall, 24, 36-month recovery time. So per the head of CLT. So anyway, but I do think that you're seeing a lot more stores opening and a lot more folks downtown, which is great. But we got to wear a mask, and we got to wash our hands and all that stuff. So, hey, thanks for being with us on Friday. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Nick, first one for you. Happy Father's Day. Y'all enjoy it, and we'll catch you back here next week. Y'all be safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
See you.